Thank you, Toastmaster Jagdish. Life is unfair. Get used to it. So said Bill Gates once. Fellow Toastmasters and dear guests, a very good morning. How many of us feel like life is being unfair to us at the moment? Any reactions? Well, markets are going berserk, the mercury is rising, the water table, especially in Bangalore, doesn't give up. It's just depleting by the day. And the overall economic and jobs uncertainty continue to take a better share of our minds. While we can't do much about the weather, also very little about water to be candid, it's heartening to see that despite slogging day in and day out, sometimes through extended hours, the uncertainty around our jobs continue to hang like a sword in front of us more often than not. This is certainly not the life we had aspired for growing up, I'm sure. Now, the truth is, we cannot change things overnight. But we definitely can do something incrementally, a little bit of it every day to make things slightly better in terms of what our reality is. The big question is how, right? How, despite all these incessant, demotivating considerations around it, how do we continue to keep the focus on improvement? Back in the day, I used to think access to motivational content is one of the key factors. I would read a motivating book or listen to something awesome or sometimes even listen to great speeches, and that would make me stand in a good stead. I would go back with a lot of enthusiasm to be able to then focus on the right things to work on, and that's it. But I slowly realized motivation was incidental. If I happened to come across a great speech or if I happened to come across a great motivating book, I would be doing well in terms of focusing on improvements. But over time, that spark and enthusiasm just started dwindling, right? So I realized that's not really the right way to go about it. So what was it, right? And then reflecting back on my childhood, I realized there were some things that I was probably doing right. Because having traversed through whatever I did from my childhood, there were certainly certain things to be mindful of, right? And then reflecting back more than 10 years ago, more than a decade ago, around my time preparing for my board exams in school or preparing for placements in college, there were things that I probably did right. And it was almost just the routine or the schedule that I had built around for myself that was serving me well. Now, having grown up in a household with loving, very caring parents, where finances were always tight, life wasn't a bed of roses. And to top it all, I had constantly heard social chatter around how my parents didn't have a son to take care of them. Being the elder of the two daughters and the only kids that my parents had, I decided to be the son my parents never had. Quite lofty for a teenage girl, you'd say. But what that did for me is enable a very monomaniacal focus on doing very well in life. That meant I crafted the goals that I wanted to achieve. I researched and figured out what I wanted to get to that. And thirdly, crafted a very detailed plan on how to go about it. When in school, I'd be in bed by 9 p.m., up and studying at 2:30 a.m. in the morning, ready to head to school at 7 a.m. and back home by 3:30. And that wasn't the end. I would be in tuition at 4 p.m. for the next 4 hours and then back home. And this continued day in and day out. And without realizing that I was investing in a very concerted schedule, a very concerted habit that was super sacred, I was actually inflicting an entire routine upon myself that stood me well. It was sacred. But when I moved to college, I had less external prompters. No routine for going to school. We had a lot more free time. There were no tuitions I had to go to. So, what could I do? I was finding it hard to stick to a habit, to form a schedule for myself. And what I ended up doing was focusing exclusively on studies. I can study the entire waking hours of my days, and that should put me in good shape, right, by the end of it. Well, I was wrong. It severely impacted my motivation, it severely impacted my mental health. No one can keep studying in their own cocoon day in and day out, right? I'm a human being, I'm a social being. So then I thought it may be a good idea to just go in and reach out to a group of people who could prepare along with me. So we would meet together often, and that helped me a bit. That routine, that habit of meeting those people every often and discussing group discussions, syllabus, and interview outcomes would be helpful. But soon I realized things were getting very monotonous. And so I decided to spend 20 minutes before dinner every day watching this TV show called Friends. That made things a little better. I could laugh, there were some elements of humor and a story around me that helped me. But that didn't last very long either. And so I actually got into incorporating listening to Shiv Khera's You Can Win for 5 minutes every single day. Lo and behold, I had actually incorporated listening to motivational speeches in my daily to-do list. But the thing is, that helped. It worked out. I got placed at a reasonable place, and basically that would mean I got the outcome I had started out on. So friends, the thing is, there will always be distractions around you. Whether it's the uncertainty around the market, around the job scenario, there will always be something. Today we invest heavily in our distraction devices, but the crux is, as long as you know what you are doing and commit yourself fully to it and have a plan, you will always achieve any unsurmountable mountain. Where there is a will, there is always a way. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, yeah, please.